Jackie here. I'm the Manager of Therapeutic Programming for AFA, and it's my honor to introduce Marnie Herlins, our art therapist and licensed creative arts therapist. In today's class, we'll be exploring nature collage mandalas. So grab your supplies and let's make some art.
Hi everyone, my name is Marnie. I'm an art therapist, and today I will be leading you through a class on creating mandalas. So for those of you who are new to working on a mandala, creating one, or just new to the idea of what a mandala is, put simply, in its simplest form, a mandala is a circular shape. So mandalas can be found all over, and they represent balance and wholeness. And when we're making art, mandalas, they're typically in some way a reflection of the self and our connection to the world. So just keeping that in mind, it's really just the shape we're starting with today. And our mandalas are going to be focused on the theme of nature. So before we get started, maybe you want to think about your favorite place in nature. Maybe it's the beach, maybe it's going to a park, just taking a walk on the block that you live on and just appreciating the beauty around you. Maybe your favorite place is somewhere that you've traveled to. So maybe it's somewhere here where you live, and maybe it's somewhere far away that you visited. But just think about what you like about being in nature, the sights, the sounds, and how it feels to experience different environments. And so just take a moment to do that. To get started and to get inspired, I came up with a vision board. So a vision board is just a collection of images that inspire you. So thinking about our theme of nature, I chose a bunch of images as I was looking through magazines just that stood out to me. So might help you to get started. So this part's not necessary, but if you feel like giving it a try, just cut out any images that you're drawn to, and then you can glue them down to a paper and put them somewhere visible while you're working if you'd like. Yeah. So to get started with this process, what you will need today is some magazines. Okay, so any magazines that you have in your home and you want to work with and you don't mind cutting up a little bit. So I would take those out now. Maybe if you have any paper you'd like to work with. I've also found thinking about what's in your home. Maybe it's wrapping paper, maybe it's colorful construction paper. It can be anything, any type of paper that you can cut up today. So really we can work with anything that you have. So next you will also need a tracer. So I created this tracer using just a paper plate. So if you have a paper plate, that's a really good way to create your tracer. And then I traced the plate onto something sturdy. This is a piece of cardboard, but you could just trace the plate right onto your paper as well. So I'm using this cardstock paper today because it's pretty sturdy and nice to work on, but really any paper that you have is great. So we also need some type of glue. It could be any glue you want to work with. If you have something to write with, I love to use Sharpies. If you have a pencil, just for the tracing part, that's the only reason you'll need markers, unless you want to draw on your mandala too, but it's not required, it's not necessary. Also, if you have scissors, take out a pair of scissors if you'd like to work with them. If not, we can just tear the paper just as easily, so scissors are not required. And you'll need your collage materials. So I pre-cut my images and I put them on a plate. So moving around. So I like to put my images on a surface. It could be a plate, just something to contain them and keep them in one place. So what else? Also, if you want to take out a colorful piece of paper as a background, I chose to mount my mandala, so you can definitely do that as well. It's nice to mount it when you're finished, so you have a nice background, but again, it's not necessary. So we're going to get started. The first part of the process is to create some shapes that you'd like to use inside of your mandala. So again, remember, we're working on a circular form that represents in some way balance, maybe harmony, and keeping that in mind, really it's up to you what you want to put inside your mandala. So when I think about nature, I think of flowers, flower petals, leaves. There's so many different ways to come up with your shapes, but I feel like starting with some leaf shapes or petal shapes and anything round that you find, and just creating some repetitive shapes, because then when we start, you have nice shapes to work with. So thinking about repetition, and really this process should be, it should be relaxing to do, and creating our mandalas and creating these repetitive shapes that can be relaxing, and arranging them is really fun too, and can be really gratifying, just arranging your design really. So I thought about my mandala as creating some sort of flower, right? So it has a center and it builds from the center, right? So again, this is the one that I created. And you can see that I started with, it looks like a bunch of roses in the center. And then I worked out from there with these repetitive shapes and patterns that repeat throughout. Okay, so I'm going to create another mandala right now with the shapes that I cut out already that are pre-cut. So if you want to pause the video and pre-cut your images, you can do so, or you can watch the video and work along with me. The way that I like to work is to arrange my images and then glue them down, or have some sense of just some idea of what I'm creating, but really it can be really spontaneous too. Okay, so if you want to pre-cut your images and pause the video and then put it back on, you can do so, or you can just watch and work along with me, and if you need more time, just continue working on your own. There's no time limit. Okay, so to get started, when I was cutting these using the decorative paper, I thought about creating a flower shape in the center. Okay, so I'm going to take my glue and a piece of paper just to glue on top of, so you don't get glue on your table. Some things. Okay. And so sometimes people start with a theme when they're working on art, such as nature as we are today, and sometimes it's more open-ended, but this circle shape is a nice shape to start with. And I thought about the theme of nature, since it's just starting to get a little bit warmer outside. People are spending more time, a little more time outdoors. getting some fresh air, taking a walk. Okay, so this is what I have so far. And next, I think I want to add some other shapes that also look like petals. So these petals were actually an image of the sky. So I really, as I was cutting these out, I just thought about how nice it is to be outdoors when the sky is blue and it's a nice sunny day, just breathing in the fresh air. And I find the color blue to be really soothing. So I wanted to include blue in my mandala. Maybe we'll put one more. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So next I want to choose my center. And when I found this, this image, it looks like maybe a plate, some sort of mosaic. I decided that that would be the center of the flower and the mandala. Okay, so we have so far. I feel like maybe we need some more petals here. So again, you can make adjustments as you go. Just build off of what you have so far. Almost like a puzzle, so I'm looking to see what it will look like before I glue them down. Okay. And actually, I think that I will use a different shape. Maybe these blue petals. I have a couple of these. Try one more. Different shape. Okay. I like that. Okay. So I found the shape I want to work with. I'm going to arrange them first, make sure I have enough petals, and then I'll glue them down. Okay. A little closer. I'm going to use my scissors to trim this down a little bit more. You can always make adjustments. Okay, ready to glue them down. Tuck these petals right underneath. peel up the edge a little bit. You can put it back down. Okay. There we go. Oh, that one's not glued down yet. Okay, just need one more. Okay, so I'm actually going to cut a shape out of this one because I'm having some difficulty getting underneath the shape that's there. So instead, I'll cut around the shape and create a new shape to fit together with it. I'll show you after I'm finished. Okay, so right here I just created a groove just so they would fit together. And I didn't cover the shape that was there already. All right, so the next step is finding out what I'd like to add next. I think I want to add some of these. They look like leaves, leaf shapes. Okay, and I'll arrange them before I glue them down. Okay, so depending on how many I have, that will determine how I'm going to space them out. Okay, I'm almost done adding the leaves. One more. Yeah, I'll add one more. Over a little bit. Okay, this is where we are now. And add a couple more shapes. So while I was working, so the images you find, they don't have to all be of outdoors. They can be really anything. They can be in nature, they can be something else, just like a really nice color that you found, like a background. I love this teal color. Or I actually found a table with set in a country living magazine, and there was just food set out on a table, and so I was drawn to the table setting, the colors. There were apples and different items for breakfast, and I cut up shapes. So it doesn't really matter what you're cutting up, just as long as you like the pattern and the colors. And collage is fun because you can transform images to be something different than what they were originally, right? As we cut the images, we are transforming them to be part of our art. So, I really love that about collage. And this process is spontaneous. Even though I had a plan, I'm definitely figuring out the pattern I want to create as I go. Oops, glued my finger. Sometimes the glue gets sticky. Or I should say, it sticks to your fingers. Should be sticky. Okay. Maybe a couple more. I do want to add some of this teal color in. It's really nice. Something you might want to do is, if you have a phone with a camera, you might want to arrange your shapes and take a picture, and then see when you actually go and glue them down how your mandala changes as you work, and what adjustments you make, and maybe it looks different from your original idea, and maybe it's very similar and you stick to your original plan. Okay, we need a couple more. And then the last part is to, if you'd like, find a background to glue your mandala down to. So for this one, I'm going to use a yellow background, just nice and bright. I think it'll be a nice contrast. You can also put the glue right on the paper instead of gluing these small pieces. Let's see, a couple more shapes. Okay. Okay, one more. Okay, and I think I feel finished. I'm ready to move on to the next step. Okay. Okay, so I have this piece of yellow paper that is a little bit larger than 8.5 by 11. I think it's maybe 11 by 14. And I'm going to glue my mandala down to it. So put your glue right on the back and glue it down wherever you would like. Something else that you might want to do is create a title. So if you'd like to, you can create a title for your mandala, your finished piece, and write it right here on your paper. And if you'd like, don't forget to sign your work if you'd like to sign your art. And if you would like to also think about hanging up your nature mandala somewhere that you can see it, if you'd like to hang it up and display it. And I hope you enjoyed this process today. Thank you so much for joining me.